Hi, this is Stephen Wilson and you're watching Masa Ito's Rock TV.
Masa Ito's Rock TV.
完璧主義者のスティーブンから見て今行っているツアーはどういうふうに評価してますか自分では。
It's a very complex show to stage. I mean, because it's a fusion of music and film, essentially, and visuals. Everything has to be very carefully planned and very choreographed. But I also like to have a lot of opportunity in the show for the musicians to improvise. So that those two kind of contrasting concepts, like being able to improvise, but also having a very solid structure to the show, takes a lot of experimentation and planning. And I think the show has that. So there's a lot of spontaneity in the show, but it's also very complex and very well kind of like planned. It took a while for that chemistry to work, but I think now it's all there. Yeah.
ホームインベージョンのビデオ映像作品見させてもらったんですけど、随分細かいプランがショーにこう練り込められてるんですけど、プランニングは相当大変だったんじゃないかと思いますが、振り返ってロイヤルアルバートホールの方コンサートいかがですか？
I thought it was great. I mean, the Royal Albert Hall is such a magical venue. And if you grow up, as I did, if you grow up in England, you grow up in London, that's the place. You know, I mean, if you grow up in France, you want to play Olympia. If you grow up in New York, you want to play Madison Square Garden. I'm sure maybe here's Budokan. If you grow up in England, the Royal Albert Hall is the mythical, magical venue that one day you'll get to play. And I've played it now 7 or 8 times. I love it. It's my hometown. It feels very natural for me to be on stage. It feels very natural for me to engage with the audience at the Albert Hall. So it was a very logical choice to film that particular show. And I think hopefully you can feel when you watch the film, you can feel how relaxed we were and how much we were enjoying that experience.
最初にロイヤルアルバートホールでコンサートやった時、あるいは今回6回目7回目8回目ですか、気持ちは同じですか？あそこの舞台に立った時の自分の気持ちっていうのは慣れるとかそういうことはないんでしょうか？
No, the first time I played the Albert Hall, I was very, very nervous, obviously. The more I've played there, the more it's felt like home, the more kind of comfortable I feel. And now I feel like it's my venue, you know, so it's like my house, my home. So I mean, obviously the more you play somewhere, the more you get to understand how the sound, but it's a very important thing when you're on stage to understand how the sound translates across to the audience, how it comes back at you from the room, how the chemistry between you and the audiences, which is different in every venue in the world. That connection, that chemistry between you and the crowd is different. If they're sitting, if they're standing, how the layout of the room is. And the Albert Hall's very special because the audience are all around you and they go up.
Yeah.
They go right up. So it's very different to playing a venue where they go out like that. So it takes some getting used to, but having played it so many times now, it feels very natural to me.
なんかロイヤルアルバートホールって確かにね、なんかミュージシャンとしてどうですか？いろんな角度から見られてる感っていうのはあって、やる方はすごく大変なような気もするんですけど、雰囲気はどうなんでしょう？
At first, you feel very self-conscious. Yeah, it's not natural to be so exposed in that way, but you grow to like it. At least I grew to really love that feeling that I can turn around anywhere and I'm looking at people in the audience. Yeah, it's a little bit. There's nowhere to hide. There's nowhere to hide.
まあ久しぶりのね日本公演なんですけど、昔はポーキュパイントリーっていうバンドもやってましたね。頃はプログのファンとかメタルファンが随分ポーキュパイントリーに入れ込んでたんですけど、新しいトゥーザボーン聞くとやっぱりポップというか全然違うとは言いませんけども、新しい次元に立っていますね。これは別に計画的なものじゃなく、スティーブの成長がそういう軌跡を描いてきたんでしょうか？
It's a difficult question to answer. I mean, obviously, I'm conscious, I'm aware that the music is changing. Do I do it? Do I contrive to change my sound? No, it's a very organic evolution. I mean, I started out... Now, when Porcupine Tree came to Japan, I think it's fair to say we were right in the middle of a period where metal was a very big part of the musical vocabulary. That wasn't always the case. I mean, Porcupine Tree started out much more a kind of psychedelic pop group. It evolved through several different stages, arrived at this sort of more metal-orientated period where we made 3 or 4 albums, and then I felt like, okay, I've done that, now I want to do something else. And that's continued to be the case. Now, one of the difficulties of constantly reinventing your sound is that you do always risk losing fans. And I think that's sign of an artist. Sign of an artist, if I can rather pretentiously refer to myself as an artist, sign of an artist is that you don't care. No, that's not true. You do care, but it's more important to you that you follow the path that you need to follow. And I think of people like Bowie, Neil Young, Frank Zappa, Nick Cave, Kate Bush, Prince. I think of these as great artists because they constantly changed, evolved, reinvented themselves. And every time they did that, they risk disappointing, upsetting, confronting the expectations of their fans. But these are the great artists that time and history will remember. And I really believe that. So it's not like I'm deliberately trying to upset my fans. It's a very natural evolution in me. I get bored if I make the same music over and over again. I don't want to be a generic artist. I don't want people to look at me and say, oh, he plays that kind of music. I want people to look at me and say, he's created his own musical landscape, his own musical universe.
今回、スティーブにインタビューするんで昔からのレコードを一気に2日くらいかけて全部聴いてみたんですけど、やっぱり To the Bone の特徴は非常に鮮やかなカラフルな世界観が見えてくる。他のアルバムに比べてどうでしょう、聴き手としてはやっぱりすごくニューアルバムからはそういう色が見えてくるアルバムになってると思うんですよ。初期の頃は鮮やかじゃないんですね、色がね。だんだん鮮やかになってくる。これは、どう思いますか
？I mean, that's very good to hear. I think that one of the nice things about To the Bone, one of the special things about To the Bone for me is that there is, as well as my traditional sort of like melancholic side, which has always been very much core of what I do, there's also a sense of joy in some of the songs. And that's a little bit more unusual for me. I don't think my fans are so used to hearing that sense of joy in the music. Some of them were a bit upset by it, but I think they've come to embrace it now. And that's definitely different for me. I mean, you refer to it as more colourful, I think more joyful, more... there's a wider range of emotions on this album. The previous 2 or 3 records were more concerned with the sort of very intellectual, conceptual rock, quite dark, kind of relentlessly dark in a way. This album, it still has those moments of introspection and melancholia and darkness, but it also has more, open moments of joy. And that in a way reflects me better as a person. Some people, when they meet me, they're surprised that I'm not a sort of dark, depressing, sad person. I'm not. I'm very much the opposite. So in a way, I like the fact now the music has a better reflection of who I am. It has these moments of joy too.
そういうその音楽スタイルになった何かきっかけありますか？何かが自分の人生の中でこれがこういうことがあったからそういうふうに自分変わったのかなっていうニューアルバムに向かって何か自分の生活やそういう中に変化はあったんですか？
It's really, I've asked myself that question. Why did I decide on this album to try and inject a little bit more joy and positivity into the album? And the best explanation I have for that is that the world we live in doesn't get any more cheerful. And it would have been very easy for me to have written an album right now, at this time in history. It would have been very easy for me to have written an album which was relentlessly negative, You know, we live in an era when I think it's very easy to be quite cynical about the world we live in, about the way technology is changing the way we engage with the world. You know, the various, I won't name the names, but various politicians, the situation we have in the UK now with the whole Brexit thing, and it seems to be more of a sense of xenophobia now than there was, you know, a few years ago. And all of that stuff is very easy to get very depressed about. And I think part of me felt like I wanted to present the other side of the coin, which is the world is still an extraordinary, wonderful place. And it's really how you choose to take the gift. I mean, I'm not religious. I don't believe in there's anything after this life. I believe the gift of life is an extraordinary thing, and we have to embrace it, and we have to make the most of this limited time we have on this earth. And there are many, many ways to do that. Traveling, making music, playing sport, having a family, whatever it is you do, embrace it and find the joy in that. And maybe it's part of getting a little bit older. You know, obviously your attitudes to life changed. I think you appreciate that gift of life increasingly more as you get older, at least I do. And I think all of these kind of things going on in my head fed into the To the Bone record.
多分スティーブンは自分の求めたものを一つ完成形に向かうよしこれはいいって言って次のレベルに向かうようなそういうアーティストだと思うんですけど、先ほどから「ジョイ」って言葉を使ってて、それがこの、ニューアルバムの一つのキーワードになってますが、この「ジョイ」って感覚はしばらく続くような予感してますか？それとも全くわからないんでしょうか？
Wow, that's a good question. You never know what's around the corner in this life, do you? I mean, listen, I hope so. I hope that I'm pretty content in my life. I was 50 last year, and so that's a pretty big landmark to reach half a century. And I found, and of course, the difference in perspective between being 25 or even being 30 or even being 40 and being 50 is huge, I find. My attitude to so many things have changed, and I think mostly for the better. For many, many, many years, I was very frustrated by my career. I was doing okay, but I was constantly frustrated that my music wasn't more embraced by mainstream pop culture, mainstream media. And it does still frustrate me slightly, but I don't let it bother me as much as I used to. I think I understand that my music is kind of, in a sense, partly because of what we talked about earlier, because it doesn't belong easily into a particular genre, and because I do keep changing, that I have to accept that part of the side effect of that is that I'll never be an easy person to market to popular culture. Now that doesn't bother me as much as it did when I was 40, when I was 30, when I was 20, and I wanted to be, I wanted to be a Prince. When I was 15, I wanted to be Prince, Now I understand that I don't have the talent of Prince, and B, it's not going to happen because the musical landscape has changed completely. So in answer to your question, I feel much more content about my place in the world, about my career, and listen, I think my music is still generally going to dwell on the darker side of life, because that's what kind of drives my muse. I'm fascinated by what's going wrong in the world rather than what's going right in the world, and I wouldn't be the first musician, whom that's true of. I grew up. My father used to listen to Pink Floyd records all the time, so I grew up hearing Pink Floyd. And there's a band, Roger Waters, obviously someone who's always constantly been drawn to the darker aspects of being a human being. And I guess I'm one of those people too. And that's what makes me curious, and that's what fascinates me. But I like to think that in writing about those things, it's also a process of exorcism, of kind of cathartic. Okay, I get this darkness out of me, and I put it into the songs, so that I can be happy. The incredible lightness of being, unbearable lightness of being. Yeah, And part of that process is to be able to channel the darker things into the music.
で最後にちょっと別の角度から全然違う質問なんですけど、この間スカイプでインタビューさせていただいた時にジミ・ヘンドリックスのねアルバムの 5.1、お仕事をするということで今度ソニーから日本でも出る、もう出たのかな出たんですけど、改めてジミ・ヘンドリックスの、作品をそう手がけてみて彼のどういう部分を再発見しましたか？
No.
No?
That was done by Eddie Kramer, I think.
Eddie Kramer?
Electric Ladyland, you mean the one that's coming out
Yeah.
soon?
Yeah.
I think that was done by Eddie Kramer.
この間なんかスカイプでなんかジミのこと言ってませんでした？
No, I might have referred to it in the sense that it's a sign that 5.1 surround mixing is becoming more mainstream.
Yeah.
Because you have the White album coming out in 5.1, you have the Hendrix album coming out in 5.1. There's a lot of classic records coming out. Listen, I would have loved to have done Electric Ladyland, but I didn't do that one. But I probably mentioned it in passing as a indication that I think increasingly 5.1 is becoming something that a lot of classic albums are being reworked into, and that's great. That's great.
今ビートルズジミ・ヘンドリックスっていうそういうそのクラシックロックアーティストからのオファーを受けたら5.1はやってもいいって気持ちはあるんですか？
I mean, I have mixed, not those particular artists, but I've mixed a lot of what you might call classic legacy artists. And, the criteria for me is quite simple. I have to genuinely love the records in question. And if I feel I have a strong affinity, connection with the record, the most important thing for me is if you're going to remix a classic album, you have to approach it from the perspective of a genuine fan, not someone who's just taking it as a job. And I think you can hear the difference between an album that's been remixed by someone who's just doing it as a job and someone that genuinely understands the magic of the music. And there's been a couple of times when I've done albums where I haven't felt that connection, and I don't think I did a good job. I think the best jobs I've done have been when I genuinely can say, I like this album, and you know what? I know it better than the artist does. I know this music better than the artist does. And very often that's true because the artist, remember, usually they make a record, they never listen to it again. I'm the same, I never listen to my records once they're finished. So I'm mixing these records that the artists haven't listened to them in 40, 50 years. I have. I know them better than they do. So that's a peculiar position to be in, but I think that's one of the reasons why sometimes I feel like I'm the right person to do the job. If you come to me and you say, would you like to remix this album? I'll say, if I genuinely love that record and know it, I'll say I'd love to, I think I'm the right man to do it. Or if you come to me with a record that I maybe don't feel such a connection with, I'll say I'm not the right person to do this. And that's really the only criteria for me is, do I genuinely love and know this music like the back of my hand, like the fans do, because I am one. And so classic artist is a very wide definition. There are some artists I would love to do that are classic artists, and there are other classic artists that I don't think I would be the right person to do because I'm not enough of a fan of that particular artist.
やっぱりそういうリミックスや 5.1 やるときに自分の愛情、そのアーティスト、その作品に対する愛情っていうのはとてもやっぱり必要なものですか？
Yeah, I think absolutely, because it's like anything, there is something that you cannot fool the audience about. You cannot fool the audience if you don't. I feel this way about performing live too. Sometimes people ask, why don't you play this song? Why don't you play that song? And the answer is, I don't feel strongly about that song. And now I could go up on stage and play it, but I wouldn't be giving it the passion that I think I should be giving a song. And I think the audience can feel it when you're faking it. And it's the same is true when you're remixing. If I remix an album that I don't genuinely love, I think the audience the people who do love that record, they're going to hear that. They're going to hear, this guy doesn't quite understand this music. He doesn't quite get it the way I do. And I think that's a problem. And I did do that a couple of times, and I didn't do a particularly good job, and I think the fans weren't happy with my mixes, and I totally understand why. And the simple reason is I didn't understand the music the way they did.
じゃあ日本のファンにメッセージをお願いします。
Sorry it's taken so long to come to Japan, but now I'm here. Let's have a party.